Hello everyone and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial we're going to learn how to crochet step by step the shell stitch. The rule for the stitch is multiples of 6 plus 2 and the repeating rows are rows 2 and 3. Now we are going to see how to work this stitch, but as well in the end I'm going to show you how to straighten up the last row. Okay, we're going to see how to work the last row after the shell stitches to get a straight line up here in the end, just in case if you crochet a blanket, for example, you want to make a border all around. Okay, now this stitch is suitable for almost everything: blankets, scarves, hats, cardigans, bags, backpacks. For anything that you like, you can use the shell stitch. Also, in the end, I'm going to show you how, by using your sample, you can calculate the number of chains that you need for a bigger project, as well as the total rows to complete it. Okay, so let's see how to start. I have started with my chain and have worked a total of 20 chains. This means that I have worked 3 times the multiple of 6, which is 3 times 6 is 18, plus the 2 extra chains that I need to turn to row 1, 20 chains. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the first chain from the hook and I'm going to put my hook in the second one and I'm going to work a single crochet. Then I'm going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and I'm going to put my hook in the third one and I'm going to work my shell. This means that I'm going to be working 5 double crochet in the same chain. So skip 2, 1, 2, and in the third one work your 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I just worked 5 double crochet in the same chain. Now skip 2 chains, 1, 2, put your hook in the third and work 1 single crochet. Again, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third and work 5 double crochet in the same chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now skip again 2 chains, 1, 2, put your hook in the third and work 1 single crochet. Again, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third and work your shell, 5 double crochet in the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to finish the row with skipping 2 chains, 1, 2, and in the last chain, in the third one, work 1 single crochet. So in this row we started with a single crochet and we finished with a single crochet as well. Now we're going to start row number 2, which is the first row of repetitions. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now those 3 chains count as a 1 double crochet in the first stitch, and I'm going to work 2 more double crochet in the first stitch, and this means that we're starting with half of a shell this row and we're going to end it with half of a shell as well. So we have chain 3 and in the first stitch right here in the single crochet work 2 more double crochet. So this means that we're starting the row with 3 stitches. Okay, the 2 double crochet that I just worked and the 3 chains. Now we are always skipping 2 stitches and always crocheting in the third one. And what this means, when we are on the shell and we skip the 2 stitches, the third stitch that I'm crocheting into is always the center stitch from the shell. And then the 2 stitches that I'm skipping and crocheting in the third one is always in the single crochet that I work after the shell. So I'm always crocheting in the center of the shell and in the single crochet. So now I'm going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and in the third one, in the center of my shell, I'm going to work a single crochet. I'm going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and in the third one, which is a single crochet, I'm going to work my shell, 5 double crochet in the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, which is the center of the shell, and work a single crochet. Skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, which is the single crochet, and work your shell, 5 double crochet in the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, which is the center of the shell, and work 1 single crochet. Now skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, which is the single crochet in the end, and I'm going to work only half of a shell as I did in the beginning. So I'm going to work only 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And this is how our work looks like at this point. Now we're going to start row number 3, which is the second row of repetitions. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. In the second row of repetitions, which is row 3, I'm going to start by working 1 single crochet in the first stitch. And since I'm starting with 1 single crochet, this means that I'm going to end my row with 1 single crochet as well. So 1 single crochet, then skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, which is the single crochet from the previous row, and work your shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, which is the center of the shell, and work a single crochet. Skip 2, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, and work your shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, and work your single crochet. Again, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, and work your shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, put your hook in the third, where the third stitch right here is the 3 chains that we started the previous row. So counting from the bottom to the top, put your hook in that third chain right here in the peak and work your single crochet. Okay, so those were the 2 rows that we're going to be repeating up until we complete our project. So when starting all over again with the repetitions of row 2, we are chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, and returning our work. As we did in row 2, we're going to put our hook in the first stitch right here, which was a single crochet, and we're going to work 2 more double crochet in order to have half of a shell in the beginning of the row. Then start repeating the same steps. Skip 2, in the third one work a single crochet. Skip 2, in the third one work your shell. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, skip 2, in the third one work your single crochet. Okay, so keep repeating. Skip 2, in the third one work your shell. Skip 2, in the third one work your single crochet. Skip 2, and in the last stitch right here on the single crochet, we're going to finish the row with half of a shell, which is 3 double crochet in the last stitch of the row. I have completed row number 4, where I repeated the steps of row number 2. Now I'm going to start row number 5, where we're going to repeat the steps of row number 3. So what did we do in row number 3? We chained 1 and we turned our work. We started crocheting from the first stitch by working 1 single crochet. Then I skipped 2 stitches, 1, 2, and in the third one I worked my shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, in the third one work your single crochet. So keep repeating. Skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, in the third one work your shell. Skip 2, in the third work your single crochet. Skip 2, in the third one work your shell. Skip 2, and in the third one, which is the third chain counting from the bottom to the top, work your last stitch, which is your single crochet. I have completed row number 5, where I worked the repetitions of row number 3. Now I'm going to work a few more rows of camera just so you can see how our sample is going to look like, and then in the end we're going to see how to straighten up the waves. I have completed a few extra rows and have a total of 10 rows of the stitch at this point, and it would be best if you finished crocheting by repeating the repetitions of row 2, the one that we start and we finish with the half shell, because this gives a straighter edge on the sides. So I have a total of 10 rows, and now we're going to see the last row for any project that you want to make if you want to straighten out the waves. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. In the first 3 stitches, which are the 3 double crochet from the half shell, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in each one of them. So 1, 2, and 3, and this applies to any project that you want to straighten up the edges. Now this is how we're going to work from here on the single crochet that we were working between the shells. Because it's the lowest point of the project, I am always going to be crocheting a double crochet on that stitch. In the 5 stitches of the shell, in the first one I'm going to be working a half double crochet. In the 3 stitches in the center I'm going to be working a single crochet, and in the last stitch I'm going to be working a half double crochet again. So 1 half double crochet, 3 single, 1 half double crochet, and in the single crochet in the center I'm always going to be working a double crochet. So we worked 3 single crochet in the beginning. In the next stitch, which is the single crochet in the center, I'm going to work 1 double crochet. Then the first stitch from the shell, I'm going to work 1 half double crochet, 3 single crochet in the center, 1, 2, and 3, and 1 half double crochet in the last double crochet of the shell. And on the single crochet in the center, I'm going to work 1 double crochet. So 1 half double crochet in the first stitch of the shell, 3 single crochet in the center, 1, 2, 3, 1 half double crochet in the last stitch of the shell, 1 double crochet on the single crochet, and in the last 3 stitches, which are my half shell in the end, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in each one of them, the same thing I did in the beginning. 1, 2, and the last stitch, 3. And look how perfect it's straightened out. And now it's easier if you would prefer to work, let's say, a border on a blanket. Okay, so this is how our sample looks like. This is our cell stitch. Now what we're going to do is, by using those stitches and rows that we just worked, we're going to calculate how many chains and rows we would need for a bigger project. So I'm going to put this on the side, and I'm going to bring this in the front. Okay, so every time I need to calculate my stitches, I always write down all the important information. This is the shell stitch. The rule is multiples of 6 plus 2. You can also add the repeating rows just so you can remember. Write down the yarn that you're using for the sample, the crochet hook, and your gauge. In this case, I used 18 stitches, and we always count the stitches, okay, in the center and not the total chains. Okay, I'm calculating the stitches that I used in the first row, and I used 18 stitches. The other 2 chains that I worked was to turn to the first row. Okay, so 18 stitches and 10 rows give me a 4" by 4" sample. And please do not add the last row that we did to straighten out the waves as part of your rows of the gauge, because your measurements are going to come out wrong. Because this is only 1 row in the end, what is it going to add, like 1/4 of an inch on your total project? So it's really not important to add this row in the end, because your measurements are going to come out wrong. So I have worked 10 rows with the shell stitch, 18 stitches, and I want to make a blanket which is 48 inches long and 40 inches wide. Okay, now how many chains I'm going to need to start with? This is the width of your project, and I'm writing this down because here it says that I'm going to multiply the stitches of my gauge, which is 18, times the inches that I need. So because I'm looking for the width, I'm going to multiply by 40, and I'm going to divide that number by the width of my gauge, which was 4 inches. Okay, so the stitches of my gauge, which are 18, times the inches that I need for the width, so times 40, and I'm going to divide that number by 4. So let me do this on my calculator. 18 times 40, okay, it's 720 divided by 4, and the result is 180. Now this 180 is the chains that I need to start with, but I want to make sure that this 180 is a multiple of 6. So just to make sure that it's correct, I'm going to do 180 divided by 6, and because the result is a whole number, the result is 30. This means that this is a correct number to start my project with, number of chains. Now, because we are not going to have a perfect result every time, I want you to be aware how to add or subtract stitches just in case you need to modify here to have a multiple of 6. Now let's say that this 180 gave me a result of a decimal. If the result of the decimal is less than 0.5, I'm going to start subtracting 1 by 1 stitches and then dividing it by 6 up until the result is a whole number. So let's say 180 divided by 6 was 30.3. I would subtract one stitch, so then I would do 179 divided by 6. If the result was still a decimal 30.2, let's say for example, I would take away again another stitch, and I would do 178 divided by 6, okay? Now, if 178 divided by 6 would give me my whole number, let's say 30, this would be the correct number of stitches to start with, the 178. Now, if your decimal is larger than 0.5, let's say 180 divided by 6 would be 30.6, you would start adding 1 by 1 stitches and then dividing by 6. So I would do 181 divided by 6. If my result was still a decimal, let's say 30.7, I would add an extra stitch again. I would do 182 divided by 6. If my result would still be a decimal, let's say 30.9, I would again add an extra stitch and then divide it by 6. So 183 divided by 6, okay? And if 180 divided by 6 would give me a result of 31, let's say for example, which is a whole number, then that would mean that that's the correct number of stitches to start with. But please be aware and never forget that this is the multiple. But I will also need to add those 2 chains in the end, just so in row 1 my stitches come out correctly. So 180 plus 2 chains to turn to row 1. I'm going to need 182 chains to start my shell stitch blanket. Okay, now I'm going to see, now that we have the total number of chains that we need to start with, we're going to see how many rows we're going to need to complete our project. So the rows, I'm going to multiply the rows of my gauze, which is 10 rows that gave me the 4 inches, times the inches that I need. So because this is the length, I'm going to multiply by 48. And I'm going to divide all this number by the length of my gauze, which is 4 inches. Okay, so the rows of my gauze, which were 10, times the inches that I need, 48. And I'm going to divide the number by 4 because that's the length of my gauze, of my sample. So 10 times 48 is 480 divided by 4. So 480 divided by 4 is 120. So in order to complete my blanket, I'm going to need 120 rows. And because I'm going to need 120 rows, and after the last row, the 120th, I'm going to work the last row of that I worked to straighten out the waves. Now make sure that your last row is going to be the row of the repetitions of row number 2, which was the one with the half shell in the beginning and in the end. If the row that if the last row is not that one, then add an extra row for it to be the row of the repetitions of row number 2, and then work the last row to straighten out the waves. Okay, so 182 chains, 120 rows to get a blanket of 48 inches by 40. So this is how to work this shell stitch sample. This is how to calculate your stitches, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like and leave a comment. Thanks again. Bye bye.